Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. Today I'm out here on the VMAX VX2 Hub and we're going to see just how much range we can get out of this scooter today. Now this is the long range version, which has got the 18.2 amp hour battery, so that's 874 watt hours of capacity. And according to VMAX, we should be able to get upwards of 56 miles of theoretical range. Now keep in mind that is a theoretical figure, usually based on a 165-pound rider, cruising around in eco mode on completely flat ground on a windless day and 75-degree Fahrenheit temperatures, basically treadmill conditions. So we're going to see how far we can go today with me weighing it at approximately 200 pounds, cruising around in sport mode. Now, just as I do with all the other commuter scooters I test on this channel, I do have our top speed set as close to 20 miles an hour as possible. In fact, I went into the menu system and set it to 20.4, which is pretty much as close as I can get to 20. So we'll see how far we can go today in that riding mode with that particular speed. The route that we're going to be taking today is the exact same route that I do for all of my range tests. And I'm also going to be using Garmin GPS to track our results. That way we have a nice, accurate, and consistent way that we can use to compare this scooter's performance to some of its competitors. Now this trail that we're riding around on right now is approximately 70% paved surface and 30% hard packed dirt, which will give us ample opportunity to test this scooter out on a variety of riding surfaces. Now this VMAX VX2 Hub does have a full suspension, so it's got hydraulic suspension up front as well as their elastomeric suspension in the rear. And so far it makes for a very comfortable ride, but we'll see how this thing feels when we get on some of the rougher stuff up ahead. In terms of the tires on this scooter, it does have 10-inch tubeless pneumatic tires, which do have a street tread to them, so it's really designed to be ridden on paved surfaces. It is a commuter scooter after all. But so far it's handling this hard-packed and light gravel surface without any issue. One of the things that I love about this VMAX VX2 Hub is that it's essentially a hybrid between the original VMAX VX4 and the VMAX VX2 Extreme GT. Now the VMAX VX4 is also a full suspension scooter, but it does weigh a bit more than this at over 60 pounds. The VMAX VX2 Extreme GT doesn't have a suspension, but what it does have is a tremendous amount of power in a small, lightweight form factor, which is going to be very attractive to people who need to lug their scooter up flights of stairs or store it in smaller spaces. And what VMAX has done with this VX2 Hub is essentially blended the VMAX VX4 and the VMAX VX2 Extreme GT into a single scooter. So they've essentially added a full suspension as well as a rear kick plate to this VX2 Hub, which makes for a really nice riding experience. And if you haven't caught it already, I've already published several videos on this scooter, including our extreme hill climb test up a 23% grade, as well as our top speed and acceleration test. And both tests were huge successes, so if you haven't watched those, I will include those in the description below. Now for all of you keeping track, we officially crossed the 5-mile mark. We've been riding for about 24 minutes at this point, and looking at the screen, it says we got about 86% battery remaining. Voltage is at 51.7. Now, for all of my range tests, especially on scooters, I usually mark my turnaround point anywhere between 60 and 65% battery remaining. So for today's ride, I am going to be setting my turnaround point at 48.8 volts, which should give us ample juice to make it back to our starting point, because that's one of the worst things about range tests is if you miscalculate them on a scooter, you're going to be doing the walk of shame and walking back to your starting point. So I always give myself a little bit of a buffer. Plus, that first half of the battery is always going to be more performant than the second half of the battery, because as you wear that battery down, voltage goes down, output goes down, acceleration, top speed, all that fun stuff. And so giving yourself a little bit of buffer is going to ensure that you can make it back to your starting point. All right, folks, so straight up ahead is going to be our pedestrian bridge. It's going to be a little bit of a hill climb, nice steep little climb, and I do have us in sport mode right now. And yeah, we'll see how we do. Throttle's all the way in, and we're making it up. No problem at all. Once we get up and over this, we'll have ample opportunity to test out the brakes on this scooter. So we've got a drum brake up front, disc brake in the rear, as well as electronic braking in the back motor. And as you can see, we made it up here, no problem at all. Coming down here, we'll have good opportunity to test out these brakes. So far, they're doing a good job at slowing us down. No concerns in that department. One of the cool things about this scooter is the fact that both Eco and Sport mode have the same top speed. You know, Eco just reduces that power output, torque, and acceleration. That way you can maximize range. This scooter also has a boost mode, which will take it up to 33 miles an hour, which is absolutely insane. So if you haven't seen that top speed and acceleration test, I'll tell you right now, even at its highest speeds, this scooter is extraordinarily stable. No speed wobbles or stability concerns at all. We got some train tracks ahead, clear on the left, clear on the right. Go up and over these. Boom. Very comfortable. One of the things that I'm really surprised with the suspension on this scooter is that rear elastomeric suspension. It's got a tremendous amount of travel. It makes for a very comfortable ride. And so going over the expansion joints in this paved surface here, it eats those right up. Earlier I mentioned that this scooter is very stable, even at top speed, and a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that the front axle is offset to the rear of the line of the front fork, as well as the stem of this scooter. And so that's going to make for really good straight line stability, and that's the reason why I have zero wobble, zero stability concerns with this scooter. So going back to range for a moment, if you watch my channel for a while, you'll know that I've tested dozens of scooters on this particular route. And so far, the best performer has been the VMAX VX2 Extreme GT. That got us to about 32 miles. So we'll see how we do compared to that scooter. Some other popular commuter scooter options are the Segway Ninebot Max G3, the G2, the VMAX VX4 LT edition, the Apollo Go, and all of those scooters got between 19 and 24 miles of range. All right, folks, so I took a little bit of a pit stop here. We're right around the 12-mile mark, and according to the screen, we've got about 50 volts remaining. The percentage says 70%. We'll see how we do a little bit later on down the ride, but so far this thing is doing a really good job. I do want to point out some improvements that VMAX made with their newest lineup. The first thing is they've got a very clicky turn signal setup. As you can see, we've got turn signals there on the handlebars as well as the rear of the scooter, and these things are very visible, especially in brighter conditions, so I like that. But what I like especially is the fact that they've got this like clicky mechanism here, which is, you know, very nice, actually very comfortable to push on. Before it was just these rubber buttons that they used here. Another improvement they made is here at the rear of the scooter. So if you watch my coverage on the VMAX VX4, you'll know that this latching mechanism left a lot to be desired. You'd basically have to, you know, latch the stem to the rear of the scooter and put a pen in there to keep it from coming undone. With this latest version, look at this. It's got this spring-loaded mechanism, so that shoots out and it will not return to its original spot unless you push it down. So that is evidence in and of itself that VMAX is listening to consumer feedback. Something else to mention is that they've also got audible feedback when you engage beast mode as well as cruise control. So if you want to engage beast mode, you just hit this 5 times and it will beep letting you know that mode has been activated. Before, you really didn't know if it was active or not, other than you'd go up to 25 miles an hour on the VMAX VX4 and the VMAX VX2 Extreme GT. And the final thing I want to mention before we continue on our range test is the fact that they've now integrated their screen into the headset of the scooter, so it's no longer kind of this bolt-on screen that's hanging out there. It's built into here, and you've actually got this nice kind of rubber protector on there. In the event that you drop your scooter or something, you don't bang this up, so really nice touch. All right, folks, so we are officially off to the races again. Like I mentioned earlier, our turnaround point's gonna be right around 48.8 volts, and that's one of the nice things about this scooter, that they actually give you not only a voltage readout, but battery bars and percentage. That's 3 battery readouts. You know, some scooters don't even give you a voltage readout, which is absolutely insane, and you companies know who you are. You know? So if you don't have a voltage readout on your scooter or your bike, you definitely got some work to do. Now, I don't know how well you can see it, but out there in the distance is South Mountain. That's where I take my scooters and e-bikes on my endurance hill climb, which is 17 miles up and down the mountain, approximately 1,900 feet in elevation gain. And I will absolutely be taking this scooter up those mountains here in the coming weeks. So if you're interested in that content, stay tuned. I'll try and get that out as soon as possible. Got a little bit of a bridge crossing here over the canal. And then at the end of this path, we'll probably call that our turnaround point, but we'll see. how we're doing voltage wise. And we are back to riding off the beaten path right now, and this is some pretty rough stuff. And the suspension is definitely taking the edge off of some of the sharper things that we're going over right now. So very happy with the suspension setup on this scooter. All right, folks, we're gonna go ahead and call this our turnaround point. We're right just under 15 miles at this point. And so, yeah, if this currently holds, we should end this ride somewhere around 30 miles, but we'll see how it works out. Quick little comfort check-in. So far, the ride is very comfortable. As you can see, this scooter's got these nice rubber grips, which have got a really good feel to them. Keeps the blood flowing in the hands. Feet feel great, back feels great. One of the things that I love about this scooter is the fact that it's got the same rear kick plate as the VMAX VX4. And on a scooter like this, especially with the power that it has, a kick plate is an absolute must. There's also a good amount of deck space on here, and I wear a size 10 shoe, and I have zero complaints. So even though I mentioned this scooter and the Ninebot Max G3 have a similar peak power on paper, it's important to keep in mind that's literally on paper. In the real world, especially on my extreme hill climb test, this VX2 Hub is hands down the best performing sub 60-pound commuter scooter I've ever tested on this channel. And that says a lot, because I've even tested dual motor scooters under 60 pounds, and those still don't perform as well as this does. So if you're looking for a powerhouse of a scooter with full suspension that weighs in under 60 pounds, this is definitely one you should consider. So I can't do a proper range test without demonstrating the cruise control functionality on this scooter. So if you want to enable that feature, all you got to do is press the power button 3 times. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3. And we got a long beep at the end. That's our audible indication that that feature has been enabled. Now all we've got to do is maintain speed here with the throttle for a little bit. And it should kick in. Boom, there's our cruise control. Green icon is lit up on the screen, and we are now maintaining speed. And if you want to disengage that feature, you can just hit the throttle or pull on the brake levers, and that'll turn cruise control off. Now to completely turn the feature off, you just hit that power button 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And we're good to go. That feature has been disabled. So what's crazy right now is we're getting some raindrops, even though I see some blue skies here. But that's a perfect opportunity to talk about this scooter's water resistance rating. Now, I don't recommend riding any scooters in kind of heavy rain conditions or anything like that, let alone submerging scooters in water. But if you do find yourself riding around and it starts raining, or you've got puddles and stuff on your route, this scooter does have an IPX6 water resistance rating, which means that it protects against water ingress from high power water jets. And so that brings a lot of peace of mind, especially if you're going to be riding around in inclement conditions. I actually took the VMAX VX4 LT edition out on a rainy day ride, which is a pretty awesome experience. Now, the reason why I do these range tests is not just to show you how far the scooter can go, but also how it performs as it wears down that battery. And as I mentioned, the first half of the battery is always going to be more performant than the second half of the battery. And so right now we're sitting at around 43% battery remaining, and I can feel that there is definitely a slight reduction in power compared to what it was when you had a fully charged battery. And that's completely normal. That's going to happen across all electric scooters as well as e-bikes and other PEVs. So just keep that in mind. That's why I always mark my turnaround point at the 60% level. But still, even though we have slightly reduced output, still got a very punchy ride to it. Quick little update, we've officially crossed the 20-mile mark. We've been riding for about 1 hour and 26 minutes at this point. And according to the screen, like I just mentioned, 43% battery remaining, which comes out to about 47.1 volts. And so I'll throw the battery chart on the screen. That'll give you an idea of what that voltage translates into in terms of juice left in the tank. But I'd say so far we are making very good progress. And with that 20-mile mark, we've officially exceeded the range that we were able to get on the smaller Apollo Go. Next up in line will be the Ninebot Max G2 at 22 miles. Then of course we've got the Ninebot Max G3, the Segway ZT3 Pro, and the VMAX VX4 LT, all there within the 22 to 23 mile mark. So we'll see if we can eclipse those scooters today. All right, folks, so we've officially passed the 23-mile mark. We've been riding for about an hour and 37 minutes at this point, and we've officially exceeded the range that we were able to get on the Segway Ninebot Max G2, the Ninebot Max G3, the Segway ZT3 Pro, as well as the VMAX VX4 LT Edition. So next in line, right around, I think, 24 or so miles, is going to be the InMotion Climber, and then at 26, we've got the NIU KQi 300X. All right, I think this is the first time I've come through here when the train is coming through. So this pedestrian bridge goes right over the train tracks. We'll see how we do at 37% battery remaining, throttles all the way in. We are, of course, still in sport mode. And folks, we are making it up this steep incline, no problem at all. And we are up and over. There's that beautiful train. And once again, ample opportunity to test out the brakes. And Scooter's doing a really good job allowing us to maintain a nice comfortable speed going down that decline. You know, so far this scooter's turning out to be quite the little do-it-all scooter. You know, it's relatively small and lightweight. It's got the full suspension. It's got plenty of power. You can use this as a city commuter or, you know, a scooter to go out on your next adventure with. Kind of a jack of all trades. Something I do want to mention about this front fork suspension is that it could be a little stiff to start. And by stiff, I mean it's really grabbing onto those stanchions, so it just takes a little bit to get it going. But it is softening up over time, so happy to see that. So far, it's been eating up everything we've been going over beautifully, so no complaints. But I do want to call that out, is that it can be a little stiff to get going when you first get it out of the box, but that's been getting better with every single ride that I've been doing. So, all right, so we are on our way to 25 miles, and we've officially eclipsed the distance that we were able to get on the InMotion Climber. So next up in line is the NIU KQi 300X. One of the nice things about having a smaller scooter like this is that it's not only lightweight and portable, but it's also very nimble, very easy to throw these things around. Oh, look at that, we got chickens, folks. These chickens, before the summer, would come out here every time, and this is how I know I'm on the right track. What's up, guys? Out here grazing. Oh, yeah, there was a point in time where these chickens, at least one of them, was out here every time I did a range test. They disappeared for a while. I got a little concerned, but no, they are alive and well. We just crossed the 26-mile mark, which means the NIU KQi 300X has fallen. Next in line is going to be the VMAX Extreme GT, the VX2 Extreme GT. That's over 32 miles. So we'll see how close we can get to that point today. All right, folks, so we are mighty close to our starting point, and so I'm gonna cruise around this neighborhood to bleed off whatever remaining battery we have. Just a quick little update for you here. We officially crossed the 30-mile mark. Our resting voltage is sitting right around 45.3 volts. Screen says 27% battery remaining. We've been riding around for 2 hours, 7 minutes, so we're making really good progress so far, but the question is, will this be the king of the sub 60-pound segment by crossing over that 32 and change mile mark that we got on the VMAX VX2 Extreme GT? Well, we should find out here soon enough. Even though it's saying we've got about 16% battery remaining, it's still got a pretty punchy ride, and we don't have any issues getting up to speed. Now, it's nowhere near as quick to get up to speed as it was when we had 100% battery, but it's still very respectable performance. You know, some scooters out there will prioritize range, so over the course of the entire battery, those scooters will programmatically reduce your top speed. Other scooters will prioritize maintaining higher speeds throughout the entirety of the battery range, but that does come at the expense of range. With this scooter, it looks like it's prioritizing our speed and maintaining that ride experience throughout the whole battery range, so happy to see that. So it looks like we are officially at about 10% battery remaining according to the screen. And you can definitely feel the reduction in power now. It's more noticeable. at these speeds, so throttle's all the way in, and it's taking a bit longer for us to get up to our cruising speed, which on the screen is 20.5 miles an hour. GPS is right around 20 miles an hour. Once you get to these levels, you start getting into that crawl to home mode, but doesn't look like we've entered that yet because we're still able to hit top speed. All right, folks, quick little update. Screen's showing 0% battery remaining. We're sitting right around 42.4 volts, but you can definitely feel that things are slowing down quite a bit here. All right, folks, so there you have it. That was our range test with the long-range version of the VMAX VX2 Hub Edition. And on this particular ride, we went 36.08 miles. We had an average moving speed of 15.6 miles an hour. We had a top speed of 19.8 miles an hour. Elevation gain today, 522 feet, and we were cruising around for 2 hours and 30 minutes. So as you can see, this VMAX VX2 Hub Edition can absolutely go the distance, and it is officially the best performing sub 60 pound commuter scooter I've ever tested on this channel with that 36 mile performance. And one of the things that I love about it is it had a very consistent ride experience through the entirety of the battery range. But anyways, let me know if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns. Happy to address those in the comments section below. And if you do want to pick up one of these scooters, I will include an affiliate link as well as any available coupons in that description. And if you use it to make that purchase, it absolutely helps support this channel and keeps the wheels moving on future reviews. As always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.